Everybody, we'll go ahead and start our Q&A webinar today. So this is our first Q&A webinar for Sun Valley Medical Weight Loss, and we're excited to be here and excited to share some knowledge with you, answer some of the questions that have come up, some of the common questions that I've gotten as we go through this process. And as we move forward, we'll start doing these live starting next week, which is May 13th. We'll start doing live Q&As Monday from 4 to 4:40 and Wednesdays from 4 to 4:40 as well. Mondays will be Q&A. Wednesday will be more of a outline nutrition topic, and we'll kind of go from there. So again, I'm Ryan. Most of you know me. Talk to me on the phone or Facebook or in person. I am a certified holistic health coach. I run a company called Discover Euphoria Holistic Health. I received my certification through the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, and I'm licensed from the state of New York. So today we're going to just answer some basic questions about the diet that we do here at Sun Valley Medical Weight Loss. Just kind of a hybrid diet between HCG, the original HCG protocol written by Dr. Simeons, and kind of some modern technologies such as exogenous ketones, branched chain amino acids, and intermittent fasting. Some of the new science that's come out just recently, and it's just a kind of a combination of those protocols. So we're super excited about the results that we're seeing in our clients. The nice thing about this diet is gets the calorie count up to a little bit more healthy number without impeding the fat loss. So that's super exciting to me, kind of fun to see, and as our clients go through that. So I just want to kind of go over, so the first question is, what are the 4 phases of the diet? So the 4 phases are similar to the 4 phases in the HCG diet. Phase 1 is a loading phase, which is days 1 and 2 of the diet. And again, in these 2 days, you're eating to capacity on those 2 days. You start with your HCG application, which is the cream to the inner arm, and you start to eat to capacity on days 1 and 2. And even though this seems a little counterproductive, it serves some good benefit on kind of increasing liver enzymes and allowing us to kind of sneak the diet in through the back door. So we're going to raise some of those liver enzymes, and then we're going to drop that calorie count pretty quick, and we're going to kind of jumpstart us into ketosis a little bit faster than otherwise we would have. So again, you want to make sure you're focusing on fattier foods during those first 2 days. So especially any omega-3s are really good. So the fish oils, great to take some of that, salmon, olive oils, coconut oils, avocados, anything that's kind of high oil. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to go out and get like greasy cheeseburgers, but you can, and you can enjoy those 2 days, but focus on just getting some good healthy fats in. Again, you want to kind of just grease the groove there. We just want to make it easier for the HCG to get stored in the fat cells and just be able to access that a little bit quicker. In a lot of ways, it's kind of like a Trojan horse, where you kind of sneak it through the gates, get into where you want to get in, and then have the ability to start accessing that body fat pretty quickly. And that's kind of the way I like to look at it, is those gorging days are kind of that Trojan horse. We're going to slip the HCG in, and we're going to spike those liver enzymes, and we're going to kind of get into a fat burning state quicker than we normally could without the loading phase. It also, there's a little bit of psychological help there. You kind of get to go out and get some of those foods that you're going to be depriving yourself of over the next 6 weeks, 6 to 9 weeks. So again, utilize it. That's phase 1. Phase 2 is the diet phase, the low-calorie phase. So this is the bulk of the diet, the 6 weeks, where we are going to really focus on losing a lot of body fat really quick. And so the way we do this is we get into what's known as ketosis, where our body starts converting stored body fat into ketone bodies and then utilizing ketones for fuel. This is what happens when you tap into stored fat. You are in a state known as ketosis. We'll get into that a little bit later in our conversation, but that's it's a metabolic state. Your body can run on 2 fuel sources. It can run on ketones or it can run on glucose. And during the weight loss, we want to be running on ketones. We want to be minimizing blood sugar. We want to be tapping into stored body fat and using it for fuel. And that's the reason it's so important to stay strict as we go through the diet, is we want to tap into that fat store, and we want to stay there. Because if you cheat and go out, you'll do the zigzag. So, we'll talk a little bit more about that later too. So again, phase 2 is the diet phase. Phase 3 is the maintenance phase. So your body works on what's called weight set points. So we tend to gravitate to a certain weight and stay there for quite a bit of time before we move on to another weight set point. And our bodies find homeostasis at these weight set points. And so the idea is we want to drive the weight down. We want to establish a new weight set point. And the reason we want to do this is so that we don't want to gain the weight right back, go back to the old weight set point, because that's what your body's going to want to do. After we lose all the weight, your body's going to want to put that back on as quickly as possible. And that's why you tend to get these yo-yo diets where you'll lose weight and then put it back on or even put more on. So what we want to do is get the weight down, take 3 weeks to get the body in a new state of homeostasis where we get the calories up and it feels good and is operating fine at the new weight. Has no need or desire to put those extra calories back on. We need to communicate to our bodies that, hey, we're happy, we're doing good, we don't need to prep for an emergency, we got plenty of food, and we feel really good here at this new weight. So that's phase 3, is setting that new maintenance goal. And then phase 4 is just life after the diet, right? And how do we transition into more of a sustainable lifestyle moving forward? How do we not go back to old habits that caused us issues in the first place? So that's the phases. Phase 1, loading. Phase 2 is the diet phase. Phase 3 is the maintenance phase. Phase 4 is life after the diet. So those are the 4 phases of the diet. So next question, how much weight can I expect to lose? That's kind of an open-ended question. Typically, the average woman loses between 20 and 30 pounds in the 6 weeks of active weight loss. Typical male will lose between 30 and 45 pounds. That's just kind of the numbers that we've seen over the 3 years of doing the HCG diet, and the numbers seem to be, running right with that. The thing about weight loss and life in general is we're all different, right? And one thing that they taught a lot about at school was a concept called bio-individuality, which means we are as different on the inside as we are on the outside, right? We've got different genetic factors. We have different environmental factors. We've traveled to different countries. Some of us were born C-section. Some of us were born vaginally. Some were breastfed. Some were not breastfed. Some were exposed to toxins and chemicals. Some were not. And all of us are kind of just a different combination of millions of variabilities. And so everybody's different, and everybody's going to respond different. Everybody's going to need to learn what works well for you and what doesn't. Now, during the diet, we're going to use principles that are kind of cover all bases, right? There's certain principles to human metabolism, which are going to help you to lose weight. But finding what's optimal for each of you is going to be an individual journey through this process. The great thing about this diet is it is a phenomenal elimination diet. We're going to take 90%, 95% of the things that cause problems, and we're going to not touch those things for 9 weeks. And so it is a phenomenal reset on your body, right? We're going to clean up disease cells. We're going to, through autophagy, we're going to clear out the cobwebs and the brain fog, and we're going to just really dial things in. But what's going to be important is kind of coming through the other side, and learning what things work well for you and what doesn't. And so those are some of the phase 3, phase 4 techniques that we need to make sure we implement. But you guys need to be your primary health care provider, your physician. It's important that each of you take your health seriously and recognize that only you have the ability to know what's best for you. You know, how do you look? How do you feel? How do you perform? Those are 3 great markers of health, and that's the ones I like to use is how do you feel? How do you look? How do you perform? If things in your life are helping you to look better, perform better, feel better, those are good. If things are making you not feel better, not look better, not perform better, those are bad, and you need to eliminate those. So again, how much weight can you expect to lose? Depends on how strict you stick to the diet. Again, some people are going to respond better than others. Men tend to lose more than women. Women tend to fluctuate more. Men seem to be more steady and, pound a day, pound a day, pound a day, pound a day. Women can be more half pound, no weight, 3 pounds, pound and a half, and just their numbers tend to fluctuate more. So again, we're all different. It's a different process for everybody. That's why I'm here, is to help you figure things out, help work with you individually as we go through this, and try to dial things in as we go through. So how many calories am I consuming in a day, and why so low? So the typical HCG diet, again, those were 500 calories in a day. On the Sun Valley Medical weight loss protocol, we're closer to 900. But those calories are coming from exogenous ketones, from bone broth, from amino acids, from MCT oil, some different supplementation that, again, gives you some extra calories, but does not interfere with fat metabolism, and in fact enhances it and speeds it up. And so, again, we have to create a calorie deficit in order to lose weight. In the video that we posted a few weeks ago, or last week, that shows a little cartoon character and kind of how metabolism works. It's kind of like a refrigerator and a freezer, right? Your body stores energy in 2 places. First one is in your liver and your muscle cells, which is like the fridge. And the second one is in your fat cells, which is like the freezer. And so it happens when our fridge is too full or we're eating the wrong kind of food, then our body will store fat in the freezer, right? And in order to get the fat out of the freezer, we got to reduce the amount of energy going into the fridge. We got to create a deficit. We got to create an imbalance to where the body has to pull food out of the freezer to replenish your refrigerator. Okay, so again, that refrigerator is your muscle tissues, your liver. It needs a certain amount of glycogen every day to function and to perform bodily functions and brain functions and motor functions. Like that's what comes in the fridge. But when there's not enough food in the fridge, the body will pull it from the freezer. And that's the whole process we're trying to do here is how do we empty out our freezers, right? How do we move that energy that's being stored in our freezer back into our fridge and utilize it for energy so we can empty out the freezer, the fat stores. And so part of this is just running a calorie deficit, right? Like no matter what you do, you always have to deal with the refrigerator before you can get to the freezer. So if you eat food and it goes in the refrigerator, you got to deal with it first before you can tap into the fat stores. And so that's part of why we do the intermittent fasting is to, again, empty out the fridge so that we can move food from the freezer over. But again, the calorie restriction empties out the fridge, right? We quit filling the fridge up so that we have to pull food from the freezer. So that's why there is such a low calorie. We have to create an energy deficit, right? So that we're pulling calories in. So now again, the awesome thing to contemplate and think about though is even though you're not getting the calories from your plate, right? Your body's still getting what it needs. It's not getting the food from the fridge, but it's getting food out of the freezer. So it's the same thing, right? It's the same calories, right? You're getting the food you need. You're getting the energy you need. It's just coming from the freezer instead of from your plate, so or the grocery store, right? We want to take all that extra storage we've got hanging on us and utilize it. We want to burn it up. We don't want to have a 2-year storage of food hanging on, in our basement. We want to empty that out and utilize it for fuel and move on with our lives. So again, that's why calories are so important. And I'm not one of these guys that, calories a calorie. To some degree, calories in, calories out, right? Because of this equation. But I'm also very aware that 100 calories of broccoli is very different than 100 calories of Twinkie, right? There's a difference. There's micronutrients, there's macronutrient differences. And so even though calories are calories in this equation, right, we still want to be utilizing the best quality of foods, best quality of products that we can to maximize our health, right? And those come from good food sources, whole foods. That's why the list is the way it is. So, okay. Why the HCG? Why not just a low-calorie diet? So what does the HCG do? What does the HCG help with? So HCG, again, was kind of utilized by Dr. Simeons way back in the 50s. And he utilized it first to kind of help prepubescent boys go into puberty. And noticed when he did this that the boys not only went into puberty really quick, but they lost a dramatic amount of weight. And so that's kind of where this started from, was his experiments with prepubescent boys. And HCG is a hormone that is most prevalent in pregnant women, right? That's when they get pregnant, HCG is what goes up. And part of the reason it does that is it's a survival mechanism to, again, access the female's body fat to supply a current strain of nutrients to the fetus, right? It's also a hormone of youth, vitality of life. HCG also helps develop male genitalia in the male fetuses. That's part of why we develop the male parts. And HCG has a tremendous effect on men's testosterone, like being able to upgrade your personal testosterone. And know a lot of bodybuilders, a lot of sports people. It's a banned substance in sports, not because it itself is like a steroid, but it increases your own production of testosterone. And the reason they do this is because it's usually a symbol that someone's been on exogenous steroids, because they're using that outside their body, their own production shuts down. So they have to use HCG to kickstart their own testosterone production again. So if the USADA finds HCG in your bloodstream, it's a good indicator that you've been cheating and utilizing steroids and needed to turn on your own testosterone production. So that's why it's a banned substance in sports, but because it has a tremendous effect on men turning on their own endogenous production of testosterone. So that's pretty cool. For men, it really, again, upgrades testosterone, which has a ton of, again, downstream effects on muscle building, on human growth hormone, on youth, on virility, on libido, on all sorts of things that the HCG helps provide. And then again, with women, it's a hormone of youth, of life, of, you know, bringing people into this world. Like it's a sign to the body that you are able to reproduce, that your vitality is great, and it sends a signal to your body like, hey, things are going good, right? Like things are happening like they need to happen, and it sends a signal that you're healthy. And it just all the other benefits that come from that. It's a pro-hormone. It has other effects on like ghrelin, on leptin, on estrogen, estradiol, and helping balance all those hormones so that you really put yourself in a good state to optimize the fat metabolism, and not just the fat metabolism, but you're also, again, creating an environment that's great for adding muscle and maintaining muscle mass and just the vitality of your whole system. So the HCG is a great addition to the protocol. It's used, again, clinically outside of weight loss. It's used for increasing testosterone in men, and in women increasing fertility. So it's utilized in fertility clinics to help a woman become pregnant. Much higher dosage than what we use for the weight loss. But again, has a very strong effect on the body and is very beneficial. So hope that answers the question. And I think those of us who have been on this HCG, like you can feel the difference when you're on it, when you're not. And again, it's so much better and easier than the injections. If any of you have done the HCG injections in the past, the cream is just so much better. It's a stronger dose. It's better absorbed. It's more bioidentical. It's just a really great product that Luke has put together at the pharmacy in the right amount. It's really easy to apply. It's not invasive. Doesn't hurt. And again, it has some vitamin B12 in there with it to aid with energy and absorption and those things, and just is a great product. So it's been pretty awesome. That cream is really a solid product. So what is ketosis? What is the difference between ketosis and ketogenesis? So ketosis is whenever you have an elevated level of blood ketones. So when your body is breaking down body fat and turning that body fat goes to your liver, gets turned into ketones. Ketones, there's three different ones. The main one that we're after is what's called beta hydroxybutyrate. And if you have a certain level of blood ketones in your blood, you are in a state known as ketosis. So that is ketosis, so an elevated level of blood ketones. If you were to measure it, it's anything over 0.5 millimolars and above, you're in nutritional ketosis. Usually there's a range, 0.5 to like 3.5 is nutritional ketosis. And then if you're above 3.5 to like 6, you're in like therapeutic ketosis, right? So if you're a lot of people who are suffering with disease like cancer, dementia, Alzheimer's, MS. Some of those diseases really benefit, epilepsy, Parkinson's, really benefit from a higher level of blood ketones. So there's kind of nutritional ketosis, which is kind of what we're after. If you're struggling with any kind of chronic disease, you may want to consider therapeutic levels of ketones, which is a little bit higher and a little bit stricter on the diet, a little bit higher in the supplementation and stuff. So that is ketosis, elevated blood levels of ketone bodies. What is the difference between ketosis and ketogenesis? There is a difference. So there is, they used to be one and the same. You couldn't get into ketosis without the process of ketogenesis. But as of a few years ago, the Department of Defense developed a product known as exogenous ketones. And these were developed for Navy SEALs because Navy SEALs were experiencing seizures. And science has proven that ketogenic diets are good for individuals with seizures, such as epilepsy. So typically, if you get someone on a high enough dose of a ketogenic diet, they can manage seizure symptoms. And so the Navy developed, Department of Defense developed exogenous ketones, or making bioidentical ketone bodies that now we can just drink. So it can put us into ketosis without actually making our own ketones, which is what is ketogenesis, right? The creation of ketones. So you've got ketosis, which is elevated blood levels, and you can get this by, producing your own ketone bodies, or you can actually drink the exogenous ketones that we use with the program from Metagenics, or we drink some from Prove It, Keto Nat. And again, these drinks will get you into a state of ketosis, elevated blood levels of ketone bodies within an hour of drinking them. So you can get into this metabolic state just by drinking them, or through your diet and calorie restriction and carbohydrate restriction. So if you restrict your calories and your carbohydrates, again, you're going to start breaking down that body fat from the freezer, turn it into ketones in your liver, and then putting it back into your body to use. So that's ketogenesis, right? Breaking down body fat, converting it into ketones, using it in your body. So that's ketogenesis. And it's also ketosis once that blood level is a certain level. You can get there by creating them or drinking them. So that's the difference. What is ketoacidosis? So ketoacidosis is a dangerous metabolic state where your blood sugar is really high and where your ketone levels are really high. Now, the only people that really need to be concerned with that are type 1 diabetics. And so if you're a type 1 diabetic, we really have to work close with your medical provider to make sure we're not running any risk of that ketoacidosis, right? Where blood sugar's way high because you don't have insulin to bring it down, and ketone bodies and ketones are really high, and so that's the state of ketoacidosis. Does the diet or drinking the ketones cause ketoacidosis? No, and you would have to drink like 2 tubs of the ketones to get into like that high a level of ketoacidosis. And again, that's not going to happen because the ketones will drive down your blood sugar. So it's not going to affect that on the diet. But just to be aware, if you're a type 1 diabetic, that's when you would have to have concern about ketoacidosis. A lot of people hear the word ketosis, ketogenesis, even doctors, and they will relate it to ketoacidosis and go, oh, wait, that's dangerous. Don't do that. And that's just a lack of education on what is ketosis, ketogenesis. So a lot of times it's just, information on ketoacidosis and confusion. So, again, if you have any questions on that, let me know. What is the keto flu? So the keto flu usually happens as your body starts to transition from the refrigerator to the freezer and switches from burning glucose to now having to burn fat. It goes through this process of what's called the keto flu. So you're not got enough glucose to really feel good, but you're not producing enough ketone bodies to feel good. So you kind of feel like crap and for a couple days. And so this is usually days 3, 4, part of day 5 on that first week. So you've done the gorge for 2 days, coming off the gorge. Now your body's trying to transition from the refrigerator to the freezer, and we're just not producing enough ketone bodies to get to where you're utilizing enough of your body fat to feel good. And again, your body gets better at burning fat the more we go into this. At first, you're not going to be a very good fat burner. You're not going to be a very good utilizer of ketone bodies because you haven't used those since you were a baby. You haven't used those since you're being breastfed, probably. So it's going to take a little bit of a transition time. So that's known as the keto flu. There's a few things you can do to kind of bridge the gap there a little bit, make it a little easier. One is to really up your electrolytes, because in that transition from the fridge to the freezer, your body's losing a ton of electrolytes. For every carbohydrate that you eat, every gram of carbohydrate, your body stores 3 to 4 grams of water. And so when we start to go low carbohydrate, your body starts to flush all that extra unneeded water. And so with that, it pulls your electrolytes out. So it's pulling sodium, magnesium, potassium, zinc. It's pulling all that, and just as you eliminate the water. So you're going to get rid of a lot of bloat. There's usually what's called the whoosh, right? That first week where you get up and you will lose 6 or 7 pounds in one day. That's that big whoosh of losing the water weight. And typically that's a really good sign that, hey, I need to go, up my electrolytes. And so sodium's one that, a lot of people are like scared of salt. If you're getting the right salt, the pink Himalayan salt, that's like the best thing for you. That will up your electrolytes, your minerals, and doesn't add calories. And your body really needs sodium. Sodium's an important mineral in your body. So you need to make sure you're getting it from the pink Himalayan salt, sea salt, salt that's ancient, that's got a lot of nutrients, minerals. That's what you want. You want to avoid the common household salt. That's not good for you and has no additional benefits. So try to avoid that the best you can. But so magnesium, potassium, zinc, those are all good ones to make sure, especially that first week, keep those levels high. Some extra exogenous ketones wouldn't hurt during that first couple of days. Again, just to make sure you're getting a good fuel source. Your body will utilize the ketones that it needs, and then anything extra, it's water soluble, your body eliminates. So there's no chance of gaining weight from drinking the ketones, so which is really good. So again, that's the keto flu. Typically the first, week as we go through there. So electrolytes, we've kind of covered that. Again, sodium, magnesium, zinc, potassium, those are the main ones. Magnesium, most people are severely deficient in magnesium. That's part of the reason we include it in the new protocol, is to make sure you're getting enough magnesium. So let's skip down a little bit. Does exogenous ketones break my fast? Again, everybody's a little different, but exogenous ketones will not typically raise blood sugar levels. So everybody's different. So for me, they actually drop my blood sugar. They actually help me in my fasting, and again provide extra energy, extra focus, extra again just energy. Ketones are energy. That's what they do, and without really taking my body out of a state of ketosis, out of that fat burning state. So it just kind of helps amplifies that, gives you a little boost of energy. They're a great pre-workout, and so if you get up in the morning, do that again before a workout. That's fine, and is not going to break your fast or pull you out of that fasted state. So, what happens if I cheat on the diet? So, great question. And again, it goes back to this refrigerator kind of scenario, right? So the whole purpose of the diet is to get in the freezer and just empty that out. Because what happens when you cheat, eat foods you shouldn't, eat too many calories, eat foods that aren't on the list, is you start filling back up the refrigerator. And so your body starts, shutting off the freezer because it doesn't need it anymore. It's got plenty of food in the fridge. And so it will utilize, go back to the glucose, and then it's going to take another 2 days to get pulling food back out of the freezer back into the fridge. So what happens when you cheat is you shut the freezer door, and it takes 2 more days to get back into it. So you not only lose the day that you cheat, but you're going to lose the subsequent 2 days. So, so you really got to, take that into consideration when you're thinking about cheating on the diet. Is you're not just going to lose 1 day, you're probably going to lose 3 days, and you're never going to get them back. And so, again, if you can come in there with the mindset as this is a 6-week program of really low calorie, right, really focused weight loss, like you really want to just get into that freezer and just empty that sucker out. Like let's, we don't want to be doing the back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and then when we're done, the freezer's still half full, or we've only taken a little bit out of the freezer, because that's what'll happen if you cheat. So again, some people get away with it the first couple of days, or it's not noticeable on the scale. They keep losing, but eventually it catches up. It's just a metabolic equation, And again, if you're eating the wrong kinds of foods that are going to completely kick you out of that state of ketosis, it just takes a few more days to get back into it. So, and you're going to go back through that keto flu again, trying to get back in. You're not going to feel good. You're going to have another couple rough days. So that's what happens if you cheat. So intermittent fasting, what is intermittent fasting and how does it work? So intermittent fasting is, just like it says, intermittently you're going to fast. So and the way we work this into the protocol is typically, for most people, we want to finish our meals at 8 o'clock at night, and then we sleep all night, we get up in the morning, we do the exogenous ketones, which don't break our fast. You can do coffee, tea, water, any of the drinks, just no sugars, again, just the approved sweeteners, which again will not take you out of your fast if you're using the approved sweeteners. And then we get till our lunchtime before we actually eat food that would consider breaking our fast. And so we've got this 16-hour window where we're fasting, and then we start eating at noon. We eat all our meals, take all our other supplements within those 8 hours before 8 o'clock at night. And so that's a 16-8 intermittent fasting. And again, the whole purpose is that fasting really empties out that refrigerator. Like you're emptying out that refrigerator, you're moving ketones in, you're emptying it out again some more, you're moving more ketones in, you're emptying it out. And that's what that intermittent fasting does, is it really gives a chance for the body to empty out the freezer, because it's empties the fridge, and then gives room to move nutrients from the freezer over to the fridge. So that is the benefits of intermittent fasting. So, and that's how it works. And then in addition, again, there's additional research on how it helps with hormones, longevity. Like there's a process known as autophagy, which is when your body's into that fasting state and the fridge is empty, like it's going to go clean up any damaged cells or damaged proteins that are in your body first for fuel. So it's going to, the refrigerator's empty, we're utilizing some ketones, but hey, there's a bunch of this garbage cells that we don't need anymore and we need to get rid of. So let's utilize those for cells. So it actually goes through a process of apoptosis is what it's called, cellular death, and it cleans up these old nasty cells and utilize them for fuel. So that's pretty awesome, and that happens during intermittent fasting. So it gives a great chance for you to clean up those damaged cells. So, and those can be problematic for like autoimmune, for leaky gut, for arthritis, some of those conditions that are just, plantar fasciitis, and really give your body a chance to do some metabolic cleaning up. So, what are BCAAs? So those are the branched chain amino acids from Metagenics. So there's 9 essential amino acids. So, and 3 of those 9 are what's known as branched chain. So they're, just like they said, they're a branched chain instead of a single chain. And those are leucine, isoleucine, and valine. And they are required, especially leucine, for protein synthesis, which is your body's way of creating muscle tissue and maintaining that muscle tissue. So part of the reason we supplement with BCAAs is, again, just to give you some additional building blocks of amino acids that don't detract from the weight loss, right? So you could eat like another, large sum of protein, or we could just supplement with the BCAAs, which is what we're doing. So you're getting like 30 calories, but it's all the broken down form of protein so that those things are like ready to go, ready to be absorbed and utilized by your body. So again, they're in a 2-1-1 format, twice as much leucine as there is isoleucine and valine, and they're super beneficial. So, so that's great. Can I exercise on this protocol? So if you've been exercising, we would encourage you to continue to exercise, especially on the 900 calorie protocol. The only thing I might have you do there is, again, time your supplements a little different. Maybe take your ketones 30 to 40 minutes pre-workout and take your BCAAs directly post-workout. But again, if you've been working out, great. If you want to start working out, ease into it. And again, exercise is not required on this diet, but it helps empty out the refrigerator, right? It helps, again, just the extra calories, walking, yoga, hiking, riding a bike, any of that utilizes the energy that's in the refrigerator. So it's always going to cause more room for food from the freezer to be moved. And so that's what we're after. So exercise is great. If you're on a serious weightlifting protocol, resistance training, message me. We may want to look at some additional amino acids or additional protein on days where you lift really heavy. But again, exercise not required, but it can certainly help empty out the refrigerator. And again, I love exercise that brings energy in and not just energy out. So those, again, are walking, hiking, yoga, getting out in nature, getting your feet on the grass, just those things bring energy into your body, and that's critical. It's all about energy management. And any of that you can do is going to be beneficial. So what happens if I do not have a, just trying to see how far along we are here. If I do not have a gallbladder, okay? So this is a great question, and it's pretty important. When they remove your gallbladder, it's a major organ that you lose. And so, but a lot of times they don't tell you that you need to compensate for it, which is a pretty big mistake that most medical providers make, is not helping their clients to understand that your metabolism changes when you remove your gallbladder. The gallbladder's role is to help concentrate bile in the digestive process and to help break down fats, especially. So what happens is a lot of people don't have their gallbladder, and then they go on a ketogenic or a higher fat, lower carbohydrate diet, or start to implement some of the supplementation like the fish oil, the MCT oil, some of those things, and they don't have a gallbladder to help break down fats. And even as you're utilizing your own body fat, so a digestive enzyme goes a long way with helping someone who doesn't have a gallbladder. So if you don't have a gallbladder, suggest getting some enzymes. There's a great one at the pharmacy called Alzymes. It's got some proteolytic enzymes, which are good for protein, as well as the ones that are good for fat. A little bit of ox bile, which again helps replace your bile that's no longer functioning the way that it should. So if you don't have a gallbladder, please get on some digestive enzyme. If you have any questions about that, please message me. It's going to change your life. So Analia, my wife, she does not have a gallbladder, and she takes digestive enzymes with every meal, and it's made such a change with her digestion, her ability to, again, absorb nutrients from the food. It's the bad thing about, like, you're eating all this food and your body's unable to process it. So unable to break it down, unable to utilize the calories, the nutrients, the micronutrients that are in the food. So, please do yourself a favor, get a good digestive enzyme. And again, the ketones, they don't affect, they're water soluble. So they're not like you need a digestive enzyme for them, but you do for, any foods, proteins, the fats, help them break those down. So, okay, we're getting close on time. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up for tonight. Again, just a disclaimer, I'm not here to diagnose any medical issues, or please work with your healthcare provider as if you're dealing with any conditions that need specific help. And again, I'm super excited to work with you and see your progress. If you have any questions you'd like me to answer, please message me, email me, and I'll try to get these on to the weekly webinars so that you can get on and check those out. So look forward to visiting with you and talking to you on Wednesday. We'll talk to you later. Bye.